Back when life was simple, our protagonist, Jin-ho, spent his days with his friends at a nostalgic prize draw booth. After checking his ticket, he was stunned to discover he had won the number 35 prize. His friends excitedly confirmed the winning number as Jin-ho eagerly opened the ticket to see what he had won. The vendor was far less enthusiastic about handing such a valuable prize to a group of noisy middle schoolers and reluctantly gave him the reward. Jin-ho proudly lifted the giant golden sugar fish candy above his head, invited everyone to join him, and broke it into pieces so all of his friends could share the victory. While the group sat together in the park enjoying the candy, his friends joked about one of them desperately needing to use the bathroom but deciding to hold it a little longer. Jin-ho simply smiled as he crunched on the candy, reflecting that he had always been unusually lucky. Since childhood, luck had always followed him, and he had never questioned or tried to understand it. He simply accepted it as a normal part of his life. Years later, Jin-ho spends his days alone in his dark bedroom, completely absorbed in an online game. While chatting with his guildmates over voice chat, he prepares to open a loot chest. His teammates tease him, insisting it will only contain worthless items and mocking the idea that an S-rank weapon could possibly appear. Jin-ho calmly asks them to wait one more second while another guildmate jokes that he will probably pull trash anyway. As the chest opening prompt appears on his screen, one of the senior guild members raises the stakes by promising him 1 million gold if he gets something valuable. As his cursor hovers over the chest, Jin-ho reflects on the strange nature of his luck. It never feels like ordinary good fortune. Instead, he always senses a brief tingling feeling just before making the right choice. Trusting that instinct, he clicks. A burst of bright blue light fills the screen as a legendary weapon appears. Jin-ho excitedly announces the drop, sending the entire voice chat into disbelief as everyone reacts to the impossibly low odds. Lee Young-jin proudly reminds everyone that he had predicted it would happen. Jin-ho leans back with a satisfied sigh, but the feeling quickly fades. His unusual luck only seems to work in games, making it completely useless in real life. Looking around his dark, cluttered room, he realizes 2 years have passed with nothing but gaming after repeatedly failing job applications. Just then, his phone notifies him about his 50-second job interview. Hoping for good news, he convinces himself that employers simply fail to recognize his talent. However, the notification turns out to be another rejection. Seeing that he had once again been eliminated during the second interview round, he looks over the countless rejection notices covering his wall and reflects on how 100 failed applications gradually destroyed his confidence, pushing him even deeper into gaming as an escape from reality. When he gets up for a glass of water, he notices a note from his parents saying they had gone out and left him money for dinner. Feeling like a burden, he decides enough is enough. Jin-ho logs back into the game and tells his guildmates that today will be his final day. The entire guild is shocked and immediately asks why he is suddenly quitting when everything had been going so well. After hesitating, Jin-ho finally explains his ongoing struggle to find a job. One of his longtime guildmates sympathizes with him, understanding how difficult it must have been to keep playing while carrying that burden, and admits the guild will not feel the same without him. At that moment, the guild leader, who always used a witch avatar, privately messages Jin-ho. Surprised to receive a direct message from the boss, he answers a series of personal questions. She asks which university he graduated from, where he lives, and what he majored in. Jin-ho honestly replies that he graduated from Jinseon University in Seoul with a degree in business administration. After joking that at least he knows how to work with numbers, she suddenly tells him that his job search is over. Instead of wasting time elsewhere, she wants him to join her company and simply do what he has been doing in the game. Jin-ho stares at the screen in complete disbelief before frantically asking if she is actually talking about her real company. The story then shifts to a massive high-tech corporate office where an HR employee reviews Jin-ho's resume. Aside from a few basic certifications, it contains no relevant work experience. Inside the office, senior employees receive direct instructions to place Jin-ho in the trading department. Park Hong-seo, the head of trading at Kwangun Securities, is surprised to learn the order came directly from the president's office. The employees conclude that Jin-ho must be a classic parachute hire personally placed there by the company's president. The scene humorously illustrates this by showing Jin-ho literally parachuting from the sky onto the company building, symbolizing his unconventional entry into the firm. Already convinced he is dealing with an unqualified employee hired through connections, Park Hong-seo walks through the hallway in visible frustration. The narrator explains the demanding environment Jin-ho has entered. Although the stock market officially opens at 9, 8:00 a.m., activity begins at 8:30 a.m. because of the call auction system, and while trading ends at 3:30 p.m., the final price is determined at 3:40 p.m. through the closing call auction. For more than 7 hours each day, the trading floor becomes a battlefield where enormous amounts of capital move constantly, and into the middle of that environment arrives a parachute hire. Jin-ho respectfully introduces himself with a deep bow. Hong Seo immediately asks whether he has ever worked in finance before. Jin-ho honestly admits that he has not. Hong Seo then asks if he has at least practiced mock investing or has any investment experience at all. Jin-ho nervously bows again and honestly admits that he has no experience, but promises to work hard and learn if given the chance. Hearing that, Hong Seo grows even more frustrated. He realizes they've assigned him a complete beginner who will need to be trained from scratch while the junior traders handle the extra workload. To him, it feels like management has simply passed the responsibility of raising the new recruit onto his team. Hong Seo calls over assistant manager Lee Hye-rin and assigns Jin-ho to her, instructing her to teach him everything he needs to know. Hye-rin gladly accepts the task and warmly welcomes Jin-ho before leading him through the office. As they walk across the enormous high-tech trading floor, Jin-ho can hardly believe he is actually working there. He still struggles to accept that the goofy middle-aged guildmate he used to game with is actually the CEO of Kwanggun Securities, one of Korea's top 10 securities firm. They stop in the break room where Hye-rin begins preparing coffee. She explains that coffee is essential for traders and is always prepared before meetings. She also points out that team leader Park never drinks coffee because he is extremely disciplined about both his health and his work. Jin-ho hurriedly writes every detail into a small notebook, while Hye-rin explains that traders work under constant pressure. Since every second matters, junior employees must quickly gather whatever information the senior traders request. She compares the trading floor to a giant casino where trillions of won move every day, and admits that most people struggle to stay sane in such an environment. She asks whether he thinks he can handle that kind of work. Seeing Jin-ho grow anxious, she suddenly laughs and gives him a powerful slap on the back, assuring him that it's actually a great place to work because people are the same everywhere. Since they'll be working together, she asks him to promise that no matter how difficult things become, neither of them will run away from the other. Watching her energetic personality, Jin-ho realizes she is far more unique than he expected and begins to think that, with someone like her as his senior, maybe he really can succeed. Soon, the department meeting begins. Using global market data displayed on the projector, Hong Seo questions the senior analysts about the stronger-than-expected U.S. employment report, the upcoming CPI announcement, foreign exchange conditions, and foreign investor activity. The analysts report that the dollar index remains above 105 and that foreign investors are heavily buying defense and automotive stocks, with some companies beginning to look overvalued. After hearing the reports, Hong Seo decides to tighten risk management by taking short positions while preparing ETF and futures hedges to offset potential losses. The staff immediately acknowledges his instruction. Meanwhile, Jin-ho sits silently in the back of the room, completely overwhelmed. Although everyone is speaking Korean, the financial terminology is so unfamiliar that he cannot understand a single word, making him question whether he truly belongs there. After the meeting, he quietly slips into the emergency stairwell to answer a phone call from the CEO, his former guild leader. Feeling awkward, he starts addressing him as Mr. President, but the CEO laughs and says hearing such a formal title from him feels strange before asking how his first day has gone. Jin-ho honestly admits that he feels like he's only getting in everyone's way. The CEO reassures him that one inexperienced rookie could never bring down the company. He explains that he has always trusted his own judgment about people and reminds Jin-ho how much he contributed to the guild by working hard, staying respectful, and keeping everyone together. Wanting to repay him for those years and believing the guild would never be the same without him, the CEO decided to give him this opportunity. Touched by those words, Jin-ho thanks him. Before ending the call, the CEO jokingly reminds him to treat his supervisors with the same respect he always showed in the guild. As someone approaches, Jin-ho hurriedly tries to respond, but the CEO quickly hangs up after telling him that if anyone asks how he got the job, he should simply say he doesn't know. Back on the trading floor, Hye-rin calls Jin-ho over to a trading terminal displaying a mock investment program. She explains that she once won the company's university mock investment competition, which greatly strengthened her resume, before asking whether he also has any mock investing experience. Jin-ho admits that he has never tried it, leaving Hye-rin genuinely surprised. Curious, he asks why the company even uses mock investing. Pleased by the question, Hairin explains that the company cannot trust inexperienced junior traders with real money. Instead, they receive virtual funds and trade under real market conditions while taking on various assignments to build experience. Their performance in mock investing becomes one of the key factors used to evaluate their growth. Jin-ho then asks whether strong mock investment results can earn a promotion to senior trader. Hairin confirms that promotions depend entirely on performance rather than seniority or educational background. In the end, the people who make the most money rise to the top. Hearing that, Jin-ho realizes the system is much simpler than he expected. At exactly 9:00 a.m., the market opens and the entire trading floor instantly transforms into a whirlwind of activity. Only moments earlier the office had been quiet, but now every trader rushes into action. Watching the sudden change, Jin-ho finally understands the atmosphere inside a securities firm. As he stares at the rapidly changing monitors, a strange sensation begins spreading through his body. His fingertips start tingling, and he immediately recognizes the feeling. It is exactly the same sensation he always experiences just before obtaining a rare item in a game. While Hairin explains that the blue numbers on the screen indicate a stock has reached its lower price limit, Jin-ho barely hears her. His attention is completely consumed by the familiar sensation overtaking his body. He reflects on the strange ability he always believed was useless outside of games. Whenever that tingling spreads through his body and the shiver reaches its peak, he instinctively knows the exact moment to act. As his hand trembles, the cursor hovers over the cash buy button. Trusting that feeling without hesitation, Jin-ho clicks. A moment later, the system confirms that his buy order has been executed. Assistant Manager Lee Hairin suddenly notices Jin-ho's monitor and freezes in shock. Realizing he has just placed a market buy order, she immediately rushes over in a panic. She explains that because he used a market order, the purchase was executed instantly before anyone could stop it. Pointing at the rapidly falling stock, she asks him what color he sees on the screen. Jin-ho nervously answers that it's blue. Hairin explains that blue means the stock has hit its lower limit and the price is continuing to fall. Embarrassed by his mistake, Jin-ho asks if he should sell immediately. After quickly reviewing the chart, Hairin tells him not to rush. She believes the stock might recover and turn positive later, giving them a chance to minimize the damage. Jin-ho apologizes sincerely, feeling guilty for causing trouble on his very first day. Seeing how discouraged he is, Hairin reassures him that there is no reason to panic since they are only using virtual funds in the mock investment program, meaning no real money has been lost. As he watches the stock continue falling, Jin-ho reflects on his mysterious ability. The familiar sensation had been exactly the same as when he pulled rare items in games, so he instinctively clicked without thinking. But seeing the price continue to decline, he begins to wonder if his ability has nothing to do with the stock market after all, and regrets getting his hopes up. The narrator explains that the trading floor specializes in day trading, an extremely short-term strategy that aims to earn small profits from trades lasting only seconds or minutes. Every moment becomes a constant battle between rising and falling prices, where each decision can determine success or failure. Once the market closes, traders are left celebrating victory or dealing with frustration depending on the outcome. As the closing bell rings, one of the associate managers jumps up in excitement after achieving an average return of 1.3%. Watching everyone celebrate, Jin-ho cannot understand why such a small percentage matters and asks Hairin about it. She explains that a 1.3% return is an outstanding result. A senior trader managing a 20 billion won fund can generate roughly 3 billion won in annual profit with that level of performance, making them an A-tier trader. She reminds him that in a securities firm, the person who earns the most money commands the greatest respect. Just then, head of trading Park Hong-seo walks over to their desks. He briefly praises Hairin for her performance before reminding everyone that the real work begins after the market closes. He instructs the staff to calculate the day's profits and losses and prepare tomorrow's trading strategy. As he turns to leave, he notices Hairin hesitating. Sensing she has something to say, he stops and asks what is bothering her. Trying to protect Jin-ho from making a terrible first impression, Hairin carefully explains that the new hire accidentally purchased a full position in a single stock with a market order during training. She adds that the stock immediately hit its lower limit and worries the mistake could unfairly affect his evaluation. Hong-seo asks her to repeat the story to make sure he heard correctly, surprised that the rookie had bought an entire position using a market order. As he listens, he notices that Hairin is already defending someone she has only known for a single day. After a brief pause, pause, Hong Seo decides not to be too harsh on Jin-ho during his first day. He tells Hai-rin not to worry about the incident and instead focus on preparing the briefing, while reminding her to make sure the new recruit receives proper training. Relieved by Hong Seo's decision, Hai-rin thanks him and promises to train Jin-ho properly. Back in his office, Hong Seo reviews Jin-ho's digital trading records. One transaction immediately catches his attention: the full market order purchase of Yungang Insurance. He finds the decision difficult to understand. Rookie traders accidentally placing sell orders is common, which is exactly why mock investing exists, but buying an entire position at market price suggests deliberate intent rather than a simple mistake. After staring at the screen for a while, he leans back and decides not to overthink it. Since it was only a mock investment using virtual money, he convinces himself it was probably nothing more than an inexperienced parachute hire making a careless mistake. As night falls, the market may be closed, but the workload only intensifies. Jin-ho and Hai-rin spend hours carrying documents, preparing analysis requests, and organizing strategy materials based on the day's trading results. Before Jin-ho realizes it, 14 hours have passed at the office. Completely exhausted, he begins packing up to leave when Hai-rin walks over with a cheerful smile. She tells him he did well on his first day despite one small mistake. Jin-ho awkwardly questions whether it was really such a small mistake, still embarrassed by his trade. Trying to encourage him, Hai-rin says no company would judge a brand new employee over a single mock investment error, though she jokingly admits team leader Park might be the exception. Straightening her tie, she reminds him of the promise they made that morning, to never run away no matter how difficult things become, before wishing him good night. Jin-ho thanks her with a deep bow. Watching her leave, he sincerely feels fortunate to have someone as kind as Hai-rin guiding him. While walking toward the train station, his phone suddenly rings. It is the CEO, his former guild leader, who immediately tells him to stop calling him sir when they're alone and asks whether the job has been tougher than expected. He jokingly wonders if Jin-ho has already started complaining to his trainer. Jin-ho assures him he has been giving everything he has. He admits that watching everyone work so hard left him genuinely impressed. The overwhelming workload, unfamiliar financial terminology, and intense pressure during market hours made him realize how tirelessly everyone around him works every day. Because of that, he still wonders whether he truly belongs there. The CEO reassures him once again, telling him to stop worrying because he trusts his own judgment about people more than anything else. Without missing a beat, he suddenly returns to his usual gaming mindset and asks when Jin-ho plans to log into the game because he is already waiting online. Jin-ho stops in disbelief, reminding him that he has only just left the office. The CEO jokingly complains that after getting him a job, he is already skipping game night. Panicking, Jin-ho quickly promises to log in as soon as he gets home, realizing that even after work, his day still isn't really over. The next morning, the department meeting begins as usual. Hong Seo gathers the team and asks for the latest market updates. A senior analyst reports that several stocks experienced significant volatility and has already sent the relevant data by email. As Hong Seo reviews the market reports on his tablet, he notes that the recent interest rate hike caused most insurance stocks to suffer heavy losses. Then he suddenly freezes. One particular report catches his eye, and he realizes it is the very same insurance stock that Jin-ho had purchased with a full market order the previous day. At the same time, breaking news flashes across every trading terminal. The office erupts as the stock suddenly surges 15%. Jin-ho quietly grips his notebook while Hai-rin stands behind him in complete disbelief, unable to understand how his accidental purchase could have produced such a result. Just as Jin-ho starts to explain, Hong Seo rises from his seat and calls his name across the silent trading floor before instructing him to come to his office for a private conversation. Jin-ho stands in a crowded subway during his exhausting morning commute, barely able to stay awake. Even after finishing work, he had spent the night gaming with his guildmates, leaving him completely drained. As the train moves along, he recalls telling his parents about his new job the previous evening. They were stunned to hear that he had been hired by Kwanggun Securities and struggled to believe it. His mother honestly admitted that, considering his academic background, she never expected him to get into such a prestigious company. Jin-ho jokingly complained about her bluntness, while his father defended him, saying that although Jin-ho had never been gifted academically, he had always worked hard at everything he did. Unsure whether to take that as a compliment, Jin-ho smiles as his father congratulates him, saying the company must have had a good reason to hire him and encouraging him to work hard no matter how difficult things become. Remembering how happy his parents looked, Jin-ho walks toward the towering office building feeling motivated. Whether he is a parachute hire or not no longer matters. What matters is giving the job everything he has. After arriving at the office, Hye-rin greets him with her usual cheerful energy and reminds him that he kept his promise to come back and do his best. As Jin-ho logs into his terminal, he quietly wonders whether his mysterious ability is actually real. Moments later, Hye-rin notices something unusual on his screen. To her astonishment, the stock he bought during mock trading the previous day has risen 15%. Jin-ho stares at the monitor in disbelief. Realizing his strange instinct may actually work in the stock market, he immediately imagines how much money he could have earned if the trade had involved real funds. Before he can finish calculating the profit, team leader Park Hong-seo appears beside his desk and calmly tells him to come to his office. Inside, Jin-ho is surprised to find the office equipped with a full gym, making him wonder if Hong-seo works out there because he has so little free time. Hong-seo studies him for a moment before asking how he is adjusting to the job. Jin-ho quickly replies that everyone has treated him well and that he is settling in without problem. Hong-seo then reveals that he is the only person on the team who knows Jin-ho entered the company through the president's recommendation. The revelation catches Jin-ho off guard. Hong-seo explains that even if he had never been told, rumors about a parachute hire would inevitably spread throughout the office. It is simply something that cannot be avoided. Hong-seo leans forward and gets straight to the point, asking Jin-ho what kind of relationship he has with the company's president and whether they are family. At that moment, Jin-ho recalls the CEO's warning never to reveal that they met through an online game. Wanting to protect that secret, he politely apologizes and explains that it is not something he can discuss on his own. Hong-seo studies him in silence, recognizing the rookie's unexpected determination. Deciding not to push further, he changes the subject and asks about Yungyang Insurance. Jin-ho immediately tenses. As Hong-seo analyzes the situation, he recalls that Jin-ho had attended the morning briefing, where the team discussed interest rate changes and the insurance sector's exposure to international unpaid claims. It was far too much information for a first-day rookie to fully understand, yet Jin-ho's market order purchase had been timed almost perfectly. To Hong-seo, only two explanations seem possible. Either Jin-ho somehow pieced together all of that information and made a calculated decision, or it was nothing more than extraordinary luck. Maintaining the image of an inexperienced rookie, Jin-ho simply says it was a coincidence and admits that he has always been a little lucky. Although clearly unconvinced, Hong-seo decides to end the conversation and dismisses him for the day. As Jin-ho leaves with a sigh of relief, Hong-seo quietly crushes a hand gripper while continuing to analyze the situation. He knows Hwang Di-woon built Kwangun Securities by recognizing talented people, not by making random decisions. A man like that would never hire a parachute employee without a reason. Convinced there is something unusual about Jin-ho, Hong-seo decides he will uncover the truth himself. He immediately calls assistant manager Lee Hye-rin into his office and gives her new instructions. A few moments later, Hye-rin rushes excitedly to Jin-ho's desk and announces that, starting immediately, the two of them will focus entirely on mock investing. She believes Hong-seo made that decision because of Jin-ho's insurance stock trade. Unsure whether it is good news, Jin-ho asks for confirmation. Hye-rin enthusiastically explains that it is a huge opportunity. Since they will no longer be tied up with routine office work, they can spend much more time watching the market and practicing trades, giving them a much better chance to advance beyond junior status. She even thanks Jin-ho because the opportunity benefits her as well. Jin-ho modestly insists he was simply lucky. Filled with excitement, Hye-rin tells him to pay close attention during the next briefing so they can immediately apply what they learn. Jin-ho realizes this means he will spend the entire day focused on mock trading. Soon, the morning strategy meeting begins. Standing before the projector, Hong-seo opens the briefing by focusing on the electric vehicle sector and its entire value chain. The narrator explains that before the market opens, the trading team holds a meta-analysis meeting to identify the sectors most likely to trend throughout the day. Although much of the financial terminology goes over his head, Jin-ho finds the word meta strangely familiar. As he listens, he begins comparing the stock market to preparing for a difficult raid in an online game. Just as players gather information, assign roles, develop strategies, and decide how many resources to commit before a raid, traders analyze information before entering the market. The analysts explain that the recent electric bus fire will likely force global manufacturers to strengthen their safety standards, while nickel, one of the key battery materials, has increased by 45% over the past 6 months. Jin-ho quickly fills his notebook with keywords such as electric vehicles and nickel, realizing that while he can record the information, he still lacks the experience to properly interpret it. As the briefing concludes, Hong Seo reminds everyone that the team failed to reach its monthly targets. He warns them not to become greedy by trying to recover everything at once and instructs them to trade cautiously throughout the day before dismissing the meeting. Afterward, a senior analyst asks Hai-rin to collect shareholder data with Jin-ho for another assignment. Before she can accept, Hong Seo steps in and redirects the work to junior employees from other teams, making it clear that he has something else planned for Hai-rin and Jin-ho. Watching the exchange, Jin-ho immediately understands Hong Seo's intention. In front of the entire trading team, he has effectively told everyone to leave the two of them alone for the time being. To Jin-ho, it is the perfect opportunity to find out whether his mysterious ability truly works in the stock market. Returning to his workstation, he focuses entirely on the screen. The familiar instinct resurfaces, and without hesitation, he commits another full position buy order. A confirmation appears on the monitor, showing that the purchase has been executed. From his office, Hong Seo quietly watches the trade unfold. Seeing Jin-ho immediately go all-in again the moment he is given the chance only deepens his suspicion that the rookie's decisions cannot be explained by luck alone. Assistant Manager Lee Hai-rin finishes reviewing her own trades with satisfaction before glancing toward Jin-ho's desk. Realizing she has been focused on her own work, she begins to worry that she may have left her rookie alone for too long. Looking over at his monitor, she is surprised to find him sitting completely still without making a single move. Her concern immediately grows as she wonders if he lost so badly that he simply gave up. In reality, Jin-ho remains perfectly calm. After going all-in as soon as the market opened, he has already used all of his virtual funds and has nothing left to trade. Watching Dahan's solution continue falling throughout the day, he begins to wonder if he should have chosen a stock that was actually rising instead. Hai-rin walks over and gently asks how his mock trading went. Jin-ho awkwardly replies that it went all right. With a proud smile, Hai-rin shares that she achieved a return of around 2% for the day. Jin-ho sincerely congratulates her, prompting her to proudly mention that she is probably the only trader on their team to exceed 2%. As she checks his portfolio, her expression immediately changes. To her disbelief, Jin-ho has gone all-in on a single stock once again. Trying to explain himself, Jin-ho hesitates, but Hai-rin immediately reminds him that diversification is the foundation of investing. Even if she could overlook his first mistake as an accident, she cannot understand why he repeated it. Looking at his unrealized losses, she realizes that spreading his investments would have greatly reduced the damage. Jin-ho quietly accepts the lecture, knowing he cannot reveal that his decision was based on the mysterious instinct that has always guided him. Deciding he needs extra training, Hai-rin tells him to stay after work. She announces that she will give him a special lesson on surviving in the trading department while treating him to dinner, adding that the night's menu will be udon. Grateful for her kindness, Jin-ho happily agrees and silently considers himself fortunate to have someone like Hai-rin as his mentor. As they chat while walking down the hallway, they are suddenly stopped by the sharp voice of Assistant Manager Yang Maiju from Team 2. Already stressed by the day's volatile market, Yang scolds them for looking too relaxed and orders them to prepare the meeting room immediately. Hai-rin quickly apologizes and both she and Jin-ho hurry to carry out the task. Confused by Yang's sudden outburst, Jin-ho quietly asks Hai-rin what happened. She explains that the market was extremely volatile and Yang suffered losses just like many other traders in the department. On difficult days like this, everyone becomes tense, so it is important to be aware of the atmosphere around the office. Nearby, other employees openly discuss their own losses. One trader admits that even using short positions was not enough to prevent heavy damage, while another remarks that the poor results likely affected every team. Although exhausted, they know they have no choice but to keep working. At that moment, team leader Park Hong-seo steps out of his office and addresses the department. He encourages everyone to stay focused despite the difficult market and announces that they will hold a response meeting after he grabs a cup of coffee. The employees immediately acknowledge his instruction. Hong-seo then jokingly suggests they could clear their minds with a workout in the personal gym inside his office instead. The employees quickly decline the offer and rush off to prepare the meeting. As Hong Seo heads toward the break room, Team 2's leader, Kim Hak-tae, approaches him with a grin. After joking about the difficulty of leading a team during a falling market, Hak-tae shifts the conversation to the recent treatment of the president's parachute hire. He points out that the other junior employees had a difficult day because they ended up handling extra work while Jin-ho was allowed to focus entirely on mock trading. Hak-tae remarks that he never expected Hong Seo to involve himself in office politics by giving special treatment to a newcomer. Hong Seo calmly denies that it has anything to do with favoritism. He simply says there was something he needed to confirm, leaving Hak-tae visibly puzzled by the answer. Hak-tae questions what Hong Seo means by confirming something. Hong Seo explains that he wants to determine whether Jin-ho is simply another useless parachute hire or someone with genuine potential. Hak-tae accepts the explanation but warns him to make sure the rookie does not cause trouble. In a place like this, connections cannot protect anyone, and if Jin-ho ever loses company money through reckless decisions, Hong Seo will also be held responsible. After checking the time, Hak-tae heads out. Later, Hong Seo gathers his exhausted team in the conference room and tells them not to dwell on the day's losses. He reminds them that they can recover tomorrow by focusing on defensive trading, using short positions and hedging instead of trying to outperform the market. During the meeting, Hong Seo notices Jin-ho sitting calmly while everyone else looks discouraged. He cannot understand why the rookie appears so relaxed in a falling market. Eventually, he convinces himself that Jin-ho is simply too inexperienced to realize the seriousness of the situation. After all, the battery stock Jin-ho bought is falling along with the rest of the market. Hyrin quietly comments that team leader Park seems to be in an especially bad mood, but Jin-ho replies that he looks no different than usual. As the meeting continues, Hong Seo privately reflects that he let a single coincidence influence his judgment. He had started believing Jin-ho might possess exceptional potential, but now that seems unlikely. In his mind, the battery sector has no chance of recovering unless something completely unimaginable happens. The next day, the unimaginable happens. Breaking news spreads across every trading terminal. Indonesia, the world's largest nickel producer, announces that it will cut nickel production by 1/3 to address falling prices. The announcement immediately throws the market into chaos as traders scramble to close positions. The narrator explains that a sudden reduction in raw material supply sharply divides the market. Companies without nickel exposure decline, while those holding significant nickel reserves surge. An analyst rushes into Hong Seo's office with an urgent report detailing which domestic companies possess major nickel reserves. After hearing that only one Korean company has a significant stockpile, Hong Seo immediately realizes it can only be Daehan's solution. The analyst is surprised that Hong Seo already reached the same conclusion. Hong Seo sits in stunned silence as he recalls Jin-ho's calm smile during the previous day's meeting. No institution could have predicted Indonesia's unexpected decision. Yet Jin-ho had already invested heavily in the very company that stood to benefit the most. The timing seems impossible to explain. Meanwhile, Hyrin rushes to Jin-ho's desk and excitedly tells him that Indonesia has announced a 30% cut in nickel production. Remembering the survival tips Hyrin taught him over dinner the night before, Jin-ho deliberately reacts with exaggerated surprise instead of revealing what he already suspects. As Hyrin explains that the entire battery sector unexpectedly reversed overnight after everyone expected it to keep falling, Jin-ho quietly pieces everything together. He realizes that Daehan Solution, the company he bought the previous day, is directly tied to the battery industry and would naturally benefit from the sudden increase in nickel prices. He asks whether most of their team had shorted battery stocks the previous day. Hyrin explains that fortunately their losses should be limited because team leader Park instructed everyone to trade conservatively. She praises Hong Seo's instincts for preventing far greater damage. Elsewhere, Hong Seo heads straight to Director Lee Tae-ho's office during market hours. Surprised by the unexpected visit, Director Lee asks what is so urgent. Without hesitation, Hong Seo says he wants to recommend someone for promotion to senior trader. When director Lee asks who, Hong Seo answers with complete confidence. Jung Jin-ho. Director Lee is stunned that Hong Seo is recommending the very employee personally brought in by the company's president. Meanwhile, in the luxurious top-floor office, President Hwang Di-woon casually sets aside his phone after losing interest in the game he has been playing, remarking that it lacks the human connection it once had. His thoughts naturally drift to Jin-ho as he quietly wonders how the young man is doing at the company. The previous evening, Hye-rin treats Jin-ho to dinner at a small izakaya while giving him a crash course on surviving in the proprietary trading department. Her first lesson is simple: always read the room. On difficult market days, junior employees should keep a low profile because some seniors dislike being outperformed by newcomers. To demonstrate, she exaggerates a defeated posture, telling him to slump his shoulders and look as though he is carrying the weight of the world, joking that adding a tear would make the act even more convincing. Watching her sincerely try to help him, Jin-ho feels genuinely grateful. At the same time, he quietly wonders whether she would still treat him so kindly if she learned he was the president's parachute hire. Hye-rin encourages him not to let mock trading results discourage him. Although they affect junior evaluations, no real money is involved and everyone starts out struggling. She then promises to teach him strategies for improving his returns, ending the lesson with a cheerful toast. The next morning, Jin-ho logs into the trading system and freezes. His investment in Dahan Solution has climbed 15%. At that moment, he realizes his mysterious instinct truly works in the stock market. Meanwhile, Hye-rin buries her face in embarrassment. After proudly talking about earning a 2% return the previous night, her rookie has now posted a 15% gain. Laughing, she jokingly bows to him and asks him to teach her instead. Flustered, Jin-ho insists it was only luck, but Hye-rin refuses to believe that anyone could achieve 15% returns twice in a row by chance. Seeing her celebrate his success without the slightest hint of jealousy, Jin-ho becomes even more grateful to have her as his mentor. Elsewhere, Hong Seo presents Jin-ho's performance reports to director Lee Tae-ho. In less than a week, Jin-ho has recorded back-to-back 15% returns on Yungang Insurance and Dahan Solution, astonishing the director. Even so, director Lee argues that promoting someone who has not even worked there for a week would create serious problems. He also points out that the results came from mock trading, where there is no real financial pressure, and suggests Jin-ho may have simply gone all-in and gotten lucky. Hong Seo calmly counters that argument by asking what would have happened if those trades had been made with real company money. He points out that the only reason the profit stopped at 15% was because of the domestic price limit and argues that overseas markets have no such restriction. When director Lee asks what he is trying to prove, Hong Seo explains that this has nothing to do with office politics. Traders are ultimately judged by performance, not connection. Remembering the advice director Lee once gave him about investing in safe assets, Hong Seo says he is choosing to invest in President Hwang Di-woon's judgment. If the man who built the company personally selected Jin-ho, then there must be a good reason. Meanwhile, President Hwang Di-woon reviews the recent market turmoil with his secretary. The secretary reports that although the company managed to contain the damage, several senior traders resigned after the heavy losses. The president remarks that investing is ultimately a battle of mentality. Anyone who cannot withstand setbacks is better off leaving, and the company was fortunate the turmoil happened in the domestic market rather than the far more volatile US market. After telling everyone to finish their work and get some rest the following day, the secretary reminds him about Jin-ho. The secretary presents a promotion request from the proprietary trading department recommending Jin-ho for promotion to senior trader. President Hwang is genuinely surprised. Even though he personally brought Jin-ho into the company, he never expected a promotion request to arrive within his first week. Realizing he had simply thrown Jin-ho into the company without explaining anything, he quietly laughs at himself. When the secretary asks how to proceed, the president tells him to approve it. He explains that everything is unfolding within his expectations, and admits that the confusion is partly his own fault for failing to prepare the department beforehand. Thinking it over, he concludes that the promotion may actually be beneficial. Jin-ho will not be entrusted with large amounts of capital immediately, but the experience will allow him to truly learn how investing works. Quietly, he hopes Jin-ho grows stronger if he wants to survive in the industry. The story then shifts to Saturday afternoon. Jin-ho arrives at the office and greets Hye-rin, who is organizing stacks of market research. She explains that Saturdays are dedicated to reviewing the week's market activity, analyzing why stocks rose or fell and studying the events that influenced those movements. Since they finish early in the afternoon, she assures him it is not too demanding. As Jin-ho looks over the mountain of financial reports and charts, he quietly wonders whether all of this information can really predict how the market will move. He then recalls a conversation with director Lee Tae-ho. While reviewing market data, Jin-ho recalls asking director Lee whether the stock market is really any different from a giant casino. He points out that the domestic market often behaves illogically, mentioning how paint company stocks once surged after Typhoon Noru, and wonders whether studying data and market trends truly matters. Hyrin answers thoughtfully. She agrees that no amount of research can perfectly predict the market because financial markets around the world are connected in countless unseen ways. A single event on the other side of the world can trigger enormous changes elsewhere. Even so, traders continue studying and preparing because increasing their odds even slightly is the best they can do. Her words leave a deep impression on Jin-ho. He realizes there is no such thing as an experienced rookie. He remembers how he once blamed the poor job market and convinced himself there was no point trying, choosing to escape into games instead. Meanwhile, people like Hyrin had been working tirelessly to earn a place at a company like this. For the first time, Jin-ho feels ashamed of his old mindset. Simply dismissing everything as luck and refusing to give his full effort would only disrespect the people who dedicate themselves to their work every day. Although he still doesn't know how he wants to use his mysterious ability, he makes one promise to himself. From now on, he will face whatever is in front of him with everything he has. As he finally leaves the office, he lets out a tired sigh, realizing just how exhausting weekend work can be. Later that evening, Jin-ho arrives home and unlocks the front door. Finding the living room quiet, he assumes no one is home. The next instant, a cushion flies across the room and smacks him in the face. Looking around in surprise, he finds his younger sister laughing from the couch. She jokingly tells him that if he was home, he should have announced himself instead of quietly walking in before happily greeting her older brother and asking how he has been. Inside a lively Korean barbecue restaurant, Jin-ho treats his family to dinner to celebrate his new job. His younger sister stares in disbelief at his Kwangun Securities business card, unable to believe he was actually hired there. Their mother laughs, admitting she initially thought the card was fake, leaving Jin-ho embarrassed by the teasing. His sister quickly congratulates him with genuine excitement. Smiling, Jin-ho flips the pork belly on the grill and tells her to stop flattering him and enjoy the meal. His father, overwhelmed with pride, remarks that he never imagined the day would come when his son would be treating the family after getting a job. Although Jin-ho has not yet received his first paycheck and is paying for the meal with money he had saved for in-game purchases, he doesn't regret spending it. Instead, it motivates him to work even harder so he can treat his family to something even better next time. Back at Kwangun Securities, Hyrin explains how the company's proprietary trading ranking system works. Lower-ranked traders manage smaller funds, with the minimum allocation starting at 1 billion won. Top-performing traders sometimes receive separate contracts, and the very best can earn annual salaries exceeding 10 billion won. The staggering figures leave Jin-ho speechless. Hearing that successful traders can make that much money helps him understand why talented graduates like Hyrin choose this profession. Their conversation is interrupted when Hyrin hurriedly hands him a stack of documents to carry. As they work, assistant manager Yang Maiju watches them from a distance with her usual sharp expression. Struggling under the weight of the paperwork, Jin-ho quietly assumes that someone as strict and intimidating as Yang must also be an exceptionally skilled trader. Later, team leader Park Hong-seo gathers the department and announces that several senior traders resigned after the recent nickel market turmoil. Rather than viewing it as bad news, he explains that it creates an opportunity because their team will now take over the funds previously managed by those traders. Instead of recruiting experienced employees from outside the company, management has decided to promote from within. Hong-seo announces that the two employees being promoted are Jung Jin-ho and Lee Hyrin. The announcement leaves both of them completely stunned. Hong-seo calmly informs them that new workstations will be prepared before the market opens and ends the meeting. Before he can leave, assistant manager Yang Maiju stands and openly objects. While she can understand Hyrin's promotion, she argues that promoting Jin-ho, who has been with the company for less than a month, makes no sense. Hong-seo firmly replies that the decision has already been made after extensive discussions with upper management. Although visibly frustrated, Yang has no choice but to apologize and back down. A short time later, the IT staff finishes installing Jin-ho's new trading station. The setup includes 6 monitors, a macro keypad that allows instant buying and selling with a single button, and a dedicated fiber optic connection to minimize order delays during heavy market activity. Starring at the impressive workstation, Jin-ho is overwhelmed. Even for gaming, he had never used more than 2 monitors, and now he is expected to trade with 6. Hye-rin nervously asks whether he understood the explanation. Jin-ho enthusiastically congratulates her on becoming an assistant manager before correcting himself after realizing she has officially been promoted. Embarrassed, Hye-rin brushes off the compliment, but her smile quickly fades as she realizes they will now be trading with real company money rather than virtual funds. For the first time, every decision they make will produce actual profits or losses. Trying to encourage both herself and Jin-ho, she tells him not to be afraid and simply trade the same way he did during mock investing. Before the conversation can continue, Yang Maiju approaches with an icy expression. She accuses the newly promoted pair of failing to understand the seriousness of the situation and warns that if the team's performance suffers because of them, she will not overlook it. After describing how hard she worked to earn her own promotion, she bluntly says she does not acknowledge either of them as deserving senior. Hye-rin respectfully apologizes and promises they will do everything they can not to cause problems. Yang coldly replies that, from her perspective, they are already causing plenty of trouble. Jin-ho watches the exchange unfold, growing increasingly frustrated as he sees Hye-rin being criticized despite how hard she has worked while patiently guiding an inexperienced rookie like him. Unable to stay silent, he steps forward and respectfully tells Yang Maiju that he appreciates her concern but believes that is enough. His response catches Yang completely off guard. Without backing down, Jin-ho reminds her that team leader Park said results are what matter most in this industry. He promises that he and Hye-rin will prove themselves through their performance. Yang lets out an irritated laugh and warns him that reality will quickly teach him what happens when someone acts beyond their place before storming away. As soon as she leaves, Hye-rin panics, worried that Yang will now hold a grudge against him. Jin-ho awkwardly smiles and explains that if a mentor protects their student, then a student should also protect their mentor. Although touched, Hye-rin sighs and scolds him for acting recklessly instead of trying to look cool. Turning toward his new 6-monitor workstation, Jin-ho sees the 1 billion won trading account now entrusted to him. Realizing there is no turning back, he tells himself that the only way forward is to prove his worth with real results. With confidence in his mysterious ability, he prepares for his first live trade. Meanwhile, Yang Maiju steps onto the smoking balcony despite not being a smoker. Still furious, she wonders why team leader Park, someone who always puts the team's performance first, would make such an unusual decision. A coworker notices her unusual behavior and strikes up a conversation. After teasing her about getting upset over the promotions, he points out that Hye-rin had earned her promotion through years of hard work anyway. Yang dismisses the idea, insisting Hye-rin still has much more to endure, while questioning how a complete rookie like Jung Jin-ho could receive such a rapid promotion. The coworker then quietly reveals a rumor he heard from a friend in HR. According to the story, Jin-ho is related to the company's president and is considered a royal family parachute hire, making him someone people should avoid provoking. The revelation leaves Yang speechless. Seeing her stunned expression, the coworker jokingly realizes she must have already picked a fight with him. Back at his trading desk, Jin-ho carefully prepares to make his first real investment. His hand hovers over the mouse as he waits for the familiar tingling sensation that has always guided his decision. But this time nothing happens. Confused, he tries again, wondering why his mysterious ability has completely failed to activate just when he needs it most. Sitting before his new 6-monitor trading station, Jin-ho stares at the screen in growing panic. His hand hovers over the mouse, but the mysterious instinct that always guided him is completely absent. The more he waits, the more anxious he becomes. He never imagined his ability would fail him at the very moment he needed it most. Just then, Hye-rin walks over looking completely exhausted. Surprised by her expression, Jin-ho asks what happened. Fighting back tears, Hye-rin admits that she lost 3% on her very first day of live trading, causing the risk management team to freeze her account for the rest of the session. Jin-ho is shocked that trading can be suspended after only a 3% loss. Hye-rin explains that risk managers monitor every trader in real time. Since they are both new senior traders, losing 3% automatically triggers a trading suspension to prevent larger losses. Accepting that nothing can be done, she asks how Jin-ho's day has gone, expecting another outstanding performance like his mock trading. When she checks his screen, she is surprised to discover that he has not placed a single trade all day. Jin-ho awkwardly admits that he simply has not felt anything. Unable to reveal the truth about his mysterious ability, he quietly wonders why it refuses to activate. No matter how many stocks he reviews, the familiar sensation never appears, making him question whether his ability has some hidden condition. Seeing him struggle, Hyrin hands him a stack of research materials from the morning briefing. She explains that intuition is often built on knowledge already stored in the mind and suggests reviewing the reports to see if something triggers his instincts. Encouraging him to make the most of the rest of the day, she heads off to ask the risk management team for another chance. Grateful for her support, Jin-ho thanks her before opening the reports. As he reads through the documents, he quickly becomes overwhelmed by unfamiliar financial terms. However, one section discussing the steel industry catches his attention because it covers material Hyrin had already explained to him. At that moment, everything suddenly clicks. Jin-ho realizes he has finally figured out the condition required for his mysterious ability to activate. He immediately returns to his trading station, steadies his hand over the mouse, and puts his theory to the test. Later that day, word begins spreading through the office that assistant manager Yang Maiju has unexpectedly changed her attitude. After hearing rumors that Jin-ho is closely connected to the company's president, Yang approaches his desk with an unusually friendly smile and warmly asks how his first day of real trading is going. Completely confused by the sudden change, Jin-ho asks why she is being so nice. Yang awkwardly apologizes for being too harsh earlier, explaining that the stressful market conditions made her lose her temper. She says she simply wanted to make up for it. She then leans over to check his trading results, fully expecting him to have suffered losses like everyone else. Planning to comfort him, she prepares herself to reassure the rookie that everyone struggles at first. The moment her eyes reach the numbers on his screen, however, her entire expression freezes in shock. Yang Maiju stares at Jin-ho's trading results in complete disbelief. She checks the screen again, convinced she must have read it wrong. Jin-ho has posted a **10% return**. As the realization sinks in, she is stunned. In a market where most traders struggled just to limit their losses, Jin-ho earned a 10% gain using ordinary stock purchases rather than short positions or aggressive leverage. On a 1 billion won account, that means he generated 100 million won in a single day. The result completely overturns her opinion of him. The rookie she dismissed as nothing more than a parachute hire suddenly seems like someone extraordinary. Noticing her pale expression, Jin-ho asks if she is feeling all right. From across the trading floor, Hong Seo quietly reviews Jin-ho's performance on his own monitor. Seeing the 10% realized return, a faint smile appears on his face. He feels his suspicions have been confirmed. If Jin-ho truly possesses this level of talent, then he may be witnessing the rise of a trader unlike any the firm has ever produced. In that case, Hong Seo believes his own role is simply to create the right environment for that talent to flourish. The following morning, Jin-ho arrives at Kwangun Securities with a new understanding of his mysterious ability. After yesterday's experience, he realizes it does not activate randomly. Instead, its effectiveness depends on how much knowledge he has accumulated. The more information he understands, the more accurately his instinct responds. As soon as he enters the trading floor, his coworkers greet him warmly. Several congratulate him on helping the department achieve the best returns among all teams the previous day and thank him for easing the pressure everyone had been under. Caught off guard by the sudden attention, Jin-ho wonders why everyone is treating him so differently. Watching the crowd gather around him, Yang Maiju jokingly tells everyone to give him some space before explaining that the team is simply grateful. While many traders suffered heavy losses during the market downturn, Jin-ho's performance significantly boosted their department's overall results. She even brings him a cup of hot tea and openly praises him. Admitting that she initially misunderstood him, Yang says she admires people who back up their words with results. Curious curious about his success, she begins trying to learn the secret behind his trading. Before she can continue, team leader Park Hong-seo arrives. His presence immediately silences the room as everyone returns to work. Hong-seo walks straight to Jin-ho's desk and tells him to check his trading program. Looking at the screen, Jin-ho is stunned to see his available trading capital increase in real time. An additional 4 billion won has been added to his account. Hong-seo explains that he personally approved the increase. He admits he neither knows nor cares exactly how Jin-ho achieved his results. In the proprietary trading department, only one thing matters: who makes the most money. With that, Hong-seo tells Jin-ho to go out and deliver another outstanding performance. Jin-ho is stunned when he sees an additional 4 billion won added to his trading account. Unable to believe it, he points out that he has not even been with the company for a month. Adjusting his glasses, Hong-seo reminds him of the firm's philosophy. At Kwangun Securities, the only thing that matters is performance. A trader's past, education, or background means nothing as long as they consistently make money. With the market about to open, Hong-seo tells Jin-ho to get ready. Before leaving, he makes him a promise. As a parachute hire, Jin-ho will inevitably face resistance from others, but Hong-seo will clear the obstacles in his way. In return, he wants to see just how far Jin-ho's talent can take him. Shortly afterward, Hye-rin walks over to Jin-ho's desk and marvels at his previous day's results. Earning a 10% return with only 3 trades amazes her, and she comments that he must have incredible patience. Confused, Jin-ho asks what she means. Hye-rin explains that most day traders constantly enter and exit positions throughout the day, gradually building profits. Jin-ho, however, calmly held his positions despite market fluctuations, demonstrating remarkable composure. Jin-ho modestly replies that he always thought active day trading required even greater mental strength. Curious, he asks how many trades she executed the previous day. Massaging her aching hands, Hye-rin admits she made around 150 trades. By the end of the session, both her fingers and eyes were completely exhausted. The sheer number leaves Jin-ho speechless. As the opening bell approaches, Hye-rin hurries back to her desk after wishing him good luck. Watching her leave, Jin-ho finally relaxes. Talking with her eases the tension that had built up after Hong-seo's unexpected visit. Now managing 5 billion won and fully understanding the conditions required for his mysterious ability to activate, he feels more confident than ever. Soon the familiar sensation returns. His attention is immediately drawn to KK Bank, an online bank he remembers studying in the morning briefing. Trusting the feeling without hesitation, he buys the stock. The order is executed instantly. As he prepares to return to studying, the sensation suddenly strikes again. To his surprise, it points to the very same stock. Realizing the instinct is now telling him to sell, he immediately closes the position. Before he can process what happened, the feeling returns once more. It tells him to buy again, then sell, then buy, again and again. The signals arrive one after another without pause, forcing Jin-ho into a relentless cycle of rapid trading. His screen fills with endless buy and sell confirmations as he desperately follows each instinct, unable to tell when it will finally end. Completely overwhelmed, he realizes he no longer knows when to stop. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the company, President Hwang Di-woon sits through an executive meeting while wishing it would end so he could go home and play games. Thinking about games naturally reminds him of Jin-ho. Assuming Jin-ho is probably struggling through his first day with real money, the president estimates he has likely already lost enough to trigger the company's automatic trading suspension. To him, the expected 50 million won loss is insignificant, less than what he casually spends on in-game purchases. If it helps Jin-ho gain valuable experience, he considers it money well spent. Back on the trading floor, hours pass. By the time the market settles down, Jin-ho is completely drained. His nose has started bleeding from the intense mental strain, his eyes are bloodshot, and every part of his body aches from continuously following his mysterious instinct. Finally, the signals stop. Completely exhausted, he leans back in his chair. Wondering how much he actually earned, he considers checking his return but decides it can wait. Closing his eyes for just a moment, he gives in to exhaustion and quietly drifts into a brief rest. Later that afternoon, President Hwang Di-woon reviews the company's trading records from his executive office. The moment he sees Jin-ho's account, he is completely stunned. In just 2 days, Jin-ho has grown his trading capital to over 6 billion won. After earning a 10% return on his initial 1 billion won account, he received an additional 4 billion won and then produced another 20% return, generating a total profit of 1 billion won. Unable to believe what he is seeing, the president immediately contacts the system administrators to confirm the records are accurate. When they assure him there is no system error, he struggles to process the results. As he carefully reviews Jin-ho's transaction history, his astonishment only grows. Across more than 100 completed trades, Jin-ho did not record a single losing sale. To President Hwang, that cannot be explained by luck alone. It looks as though Jin-ho knew exactly when each stock would rise and fall. Realizing the significance of those results, President Hwang orders Secretary Jang to summon everyone responsible for supervising Jin-ho, including the department's senior managers. Elsewhere, Hye-rin finds Jin-ho asleep in the company's lounge and gently wakes him. Startled awake, Jin-ho is surprised to see her standing there. Hye-rin explains that she came looking for him after noticing he was missing from his death. Seeing the dried blood beneath his nose, she asks whether he is feeling ill. Embarrassed, Jin-ho brushes it off as simple exhaustion and prepares to rush back to work. Hye-rin gently stops him and points out that the market already closed an hour earlier. Only then does Jin-ho realize he accidentally slept until the end of the trading session. Ashamed of himself after promising to work harder, he repeatedly apologizes. Hye-rin simply smiles and reassures him that no one is going to criticize the person who practically saved the department's performance that day. As they leave the lounge, Jin-ho notices the unusually tense atmosphere throughout the office. Curious, he asks what happened. Hye-rin quietly explains that team leader Park Hong-seo, the department head, and even the executive director have all been summoned. When Jin-ho asks who called them in, she reveals that the order came directly from President Hwang Di-woon. The unexpected news leaves Jin-ho uneasy. Meanwhile, inside the president's office, a heavy silence fills the room as the company's senior executives gather before President Hwang. After everyone takes their seats, the president gets straight to the point. He asks a single question: who approved the additional 4 billion won in trading capital for Jin-ho? Around the office pantry, employees gossip after reading the company's latest performance announcement. They learn that prop trading team 1 ranked first this month and that Jin-ho, the CEO's rumored parachute hire, was named the top trader. Many dismiss the results as favoritism, arguing that someone who joined only a month ago could never honestly become the firm's best performer. Passing by, Yang Maiju overhears them and quietly scoffs. Having witnessed Jin-ho's trading firsthand, she knows his performance is genuine. Looking around for him, she wonders why he is absent and remembers that the team no longer lets him come into the office on weekends. Meanwhile, Jin-ho enjoys a rare, relaxing Saturday at home. Looking back over the past month, he realizes it disappeared in a blur of non-stop trading. Reflecting on his mysterious ability, he concludes that it follows 2 rules. First, its accuracy depends on how much relevant knowledge he has accumulated. Second, using it repeatedly within a short period causes severe physical exhaustion. He also recalls how Hye-rin and the senior traders practically forced him to take weekends off, insisting that he rest so he could continue generating profits during the workweek. The married employees were especially enthusiastic, leaving him with no chance to refuse. Just then, a bank notification arrives. Expecting his first paycheck, Jin-ho checks the deposit and is stunned to discover that 100 million won has been transferred into his account. Before he can process it, President Hwang calls. Laughing, the president explains that the money is correct. Most of it comes from Jin-ho's performance incentive, 20% of the profits he generated, along with a small bonus. He reminds Jin-ho that traders earn enormous amounts when they perform well but almost nothing when they lose, and jokingly warns him not to spend everything before paying his taxes. Still overwhelmed, Jin-ho admits he has never handled that much money before. President Hwang then invites him out for their usual pork belly and soju. Over dinner, they casually chat about their online game and guild members, making the president seem more like a fellow gamer than the head of a major securities firm. Eventually, however, his expression turns serious. He tells Jin-ho that throughout his entire career, he had never hired anyone who hadn't already proven themselves. The only exception was Jin-ho. It wasn't simply because Jin-ho managed the guild well or treated people respectfully. Anyone could do that with enough effort. What truly convinced him was Jin-ho's uncanny ability to bring good fortune during the guild's most critical moments. The president admits he has always believed in luck. But what Jin-ho accomplished at the company went far beyond luck. Looking directly at him, he asks whether Jin-ho has his own unique investment method. After a brief hesitation, Jin-ho quietly admits that he does. He immediately worries the president will ask him to explain it. Instead, President H-Wang simply smiles, knowing that Jin-ho has his own method is enough. Even if he explained it, the president jokes that it would probably involve a complicated algorithm he wouldn't understand anyway. Then he makes an unexpected proposal. He wants to create an entirely new trading team and appoint Jin-ho as its team leader. The suggestion leaves Jin-ho speechless. The story then flashes back to the earlier executive meeting. President H-Wang questioned Park Hong-seo about approving an additional 4 billion won for Jin-ho's account. The other executives panicked, grabbing Park by the collar and demanding he apologize. The president calmly stopped them and asked Park to explain his reasoning. Park admits that he originally couldn't understand why the president hired someone with no experience or impressive credentials. However, Jin-ho demonstrated extraordinary potential during mock trading. Seeing that potential, Park believed increasing his capital was simply another investment, exactly the kind any trader should make. He then made one more recommendation. Rather than keeping Jin-ho on his own team, Park suggested creating an entirely separate team for him. Back in the present, Jin-ho is stunned to learn that the recommendation actually came from Park Hong-seo. President H-Wang explains that Park has never advocated so strongly for anyone before, despite the fact that keeping Jin-ho would have earned his own team much larger performance bonuses. Overwhelmed, Jin-ho immediately refuses, insisting he has only worked at the company for a month. He says he has no leadership experience and no confidence in becoming a team leader. President H-Wang laughs at his modest reaction before telling him they'll find another solution. Later that weekend, Jin-ho takes his family shopping at a luxury mall. His younger sister, Jung Mi-ho, happily tries on a dress while their parents admire how beautiful she looks. Since she needs an outfit for a friend's wedding, Jin-ho encourages everyone to choose whatever they want. When the cashier asks about payment installments, Jin-ho confidently pays the entire bill at once. He recalls President H-Wang's advice to spend some of his earnings with his family instead of going straight home. Watching them enjoy themselves, Jin-ho realizes the president wanted him to experience the joy of using the money he earned. Jin-ho then surprises his sister by tossing her a brand new MacBook. Shocked, she remembers mentioning that her old laptop had become too slow to use. Although grateful, she worries he's spending far too much. Laughing, she teases that her brother, who once spent all day playing games, has changed so much that it almost feels unreal. Jin-ho tells her not to worry and urges her to pick out anything else she needs. She happily thanks him and continues shopping. Watching his family smile, Jin-ho reflects on how his sister had used the old laptop he gave her for years, while his parents quietly wore the same clothes without complaint. Now, for the first time in a long while, it feels as though time has finally started moving again for his family because of him. The satisfaction he feels is unlike anything gaming ever gave him. It fills him with a desire to earn even more. Filled with determination, Jin-ho immediately calls President H-Wang. When the president answers, Jin-ho gives him his decision. He accepts the offer to become a team leader.